Hey everyone, Jen Wells here from Brand Swan. I am super excited to introduce today's interviewee, which is Shabranae Patton, our very first inspiring woman from our Inspiring Women series, celebrating March, which is Women's History Month. To get started, Shabranae, why don't you go ahead and give us your background? Tell everyone a little bit about your company.
Absolutely. So first, I just wanted to say thank you for having me on. I appreciate you guys. Um, so Anchored Ink is a home decor and accessories boutique. We specialize in coastal home decor for the most part. I'm in New England, Boston, Massachusetts, for those of you who don't know. I actually moved here about 2.5, almost 3 years ago from Texas. And in Texas, I was an advocate for victims and survivors of human trafficking through our parent company, which is the A21 campaign. And I'm also a sexual assault and domestic assault survivor. And so my life experiences coupled with my advocacy work is kind of how Anchored Ink was born. We didn't officially start until 2019 when I moved here to Massachusetts. But the makings of Anchored Ink and the work of Anchored Ink has been in the making for roughly over a decade now.
I think a lot of people hear human trafficking and they think that's something that happens in other countries. And they don't realize that it is a huge issue here. So I guess, do you mind giving some background as to like how it's happening and people don't know about it? Like how does that happen in what's supposed to be a first world country?
It's so crazy that you asked that question. Most people, when I first talk to them about human trafficking, they immediately think of the movies and think of the kidnappings and the I think it's like Taken. Like that, right? And everybody references that movie. And while that happens, that is a very small percentage of what happens in human trafficking. Human trafficking happens right here in the United States. As a matter of fact, I believe the United States is now third in the world for human trafficking. And that looks different for multiple people. For some people, that looks like kidnapping, right? And that's what most people are familiar with when they hear the words human trafficking. But what they're not familiar with is the fact that their children are being groomed online by these traffickers. And they are treating them as if they love them, and they treat them as if they care about them. And they trick them and coerce them into believing that they can take care of them in some shape, form, or fashion. Or maybe it's a situation where a person has gone on a job interview that's really not a job interview. It could be a situation where, for myself, I am not necessarily, or I don't consider myself a human trafficking victim. However, I am a sexual assault survivor. And when looking at the process of how that happened with me, it was a grooming process. It didn't happen just like that. It was something in which I trusted the person and I trusted them to love me and take care of me and all of those things, only for it to turn into something horrible. A lot of people don't realize that it's something that's happening around the corners, nail shops and hair salons and massage parlors, and it's everywhere. And so I would like for people to really know, like, this is not something foreign. This is something that's very present. It's very prevalent here in the United States. As a matter of fact, it's $150 billion a year industry. And at this point, it's still growing because unfortunately, the demand is still growing.
Well, that leads really well into the next question, which, or I guess you kind of answered it a little bit. What change do you want to see in the world, and how are you aiding that cause?
Yeah, so obviously for us, it's all about freedom, right? And everything we do is connected to that from the moment that we, I, in terms of the designing of the materials and the beautiful items that you guys see in our store. In those moments when I'm designing, I'm thinking about the freedom of victims and survivors. What would they want to see? How would they want to feel? And so that starts just with the designing. And then from there, we take that designing and we push it to our customers. And we take those customers and we inform them how their support of us helps to change the world that we live in, right? Each time someone actually purchases with Anchored Ink, we get to make these amazing care packages for victims and survivors all over the world. And for us, that's the changing, right? That's the world changing thing that we're doing. A lot of people don't know this, but as a sexual assault survivor, there's a gap in between when a survivor is recognized and when they, I guess, receive that level of freedom that they all strive to have. I know I'm still striving to get to that point as well. But I noticed that there was a breakdown once a person has been rescued, or once a person has left the hospital, or once a person has started therapy services. No one's taking care of them for aftercare services in terms of their needs. So for example, undergarments and feminine hygiene products and socks and toothpaste and toothbrush and deodorant and all of these things that are so essential to how we live every day. But these women and these children, there's a gap there. And granted, a lot of people are mostly concerned with getting them away from their traffickers, getting them away from their abusers. And that definitely is something that we strive to do. But what happens when that happens, right? What happens when they have been rescued? Who's taking care of them and making sure that we're not letting them drift off and that we are anchored to them?
Oh.
Right? So for us, it's all about aftercare and making sure that they're not drifting off, lost at sea kind of a thing, that somebody's holding them and protecting them and taking care of them until they can do it on their own. And so that's the life changing and the, I guess, the world changing that we see ourselves doing here at Anchored Ink.
For people who want to get involved, what would be ways that they could help out?
Oh my goodness, so many ways. And I like to say so many ways because a lot of people, they're so afraid to talk about this and they don't really want to talk about it to people. It's like, oh, I don't know what to say, or I don't know what to do, or what the statistics are, and things of that nature. So I like to tell people the different ways that you can help out without necessarily stepping out of your comfort zone if you don't want to. And that includes sharing posts, liking posts on social media, even if it's attending a seminar, or if it's, talking to your children about being safe outside, which I'm pretty sure parents are, they're doing that already anyway. But just letting them know, watch your surroundings, make sure you're paying attention, you're not going places by yourself, make sure you go, if you're outside in groups and things of that nature. So there's a lot of different ways that people can help, but spreading awareness is the big, big key. The problem is most people don't know. Most people think it is a third world country problem. And so spreading awareness is key. If people need help, if you're afraid or you don't necessarily know how to get in contact or who to get in contact with, or you don't trust the hotline, or you can't access the hotline or things like that, I am a DM away. I don't care who you are. I don't care your ethnicity. I don't care your sexuality. I don't care what's happening. If you need my assistance in what I can help you with based on, what everybody knows that I do, please send me a message, an email, a DM, whatever the case may be, and I will make sure that we figure out how to get you the help that you need.
We're going to talk about how you define success.
Yeah. For me, success is just being able to do what you love. I think that's successful. A lot of people, they go to work every day. They hate what they do. They hate working 80 hours and 120 hours or however many hours they're working. And so it's kind of hard to feel successful in those moments when you feel like you're not doing the things that you really truly love and what you really truly care about. And for me, I think that defines success for me. If I can do what I love and I can do what I care about, I am successful. Success for me doesn't look like billions of dollars, so to speak. It doesn't look like billions of friends to me. To me, success is being able to enjoy what I do and loving what I do. And that makes me successful.
What advice would you give your younger self?
Man. If I had to pick, keep being you. Don't let anybody change who you are. Don't change your outlook and how you see things and how you see people. A lot of times when I was younger, and even as an adult, my husband can probably tell you, he tells me all the time, you're such a Disney person. You're such a fairy tale. For a long time when I was younger, it used to just be my pet peeve when people would say that. Because I'm a hopeless romantic or whatever you want to call it, I would tell my younger self, don't ever stop being you. Keep being you. Keep being the hopeless romantic. Keep believing that the best is always going to come next. Keep believing that because it keeps you going. It keeps the push behind what you're trying to do. I can guarantee you the work that I do, the trauma that I've experienced, the lives that I've been able to touch, a part of that is because I always believed that I could help, that I could change it, that I could make it better, that there was something that I could do. And so I would tell my younger self, don't ever stop being you. Stay that determined, bright-eyed, bushy-tail person. And don't let anybody change you from being that.